Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to episode 306 of the Constant Calibrating podcast. As always, I am your host, Josh Silverman, joined not by my co host, Justin Stanley, who apparently is dying from the plague. Just found that out a little bit ago, but I hope Justin feels a little bit better. Joining us this week, we have, and I'm reading your intro thing you wrote for me here. We have the co-host of the Awkward Conversations with Paul and Sky podcast, influencer marketing manager for the Brand Amp, and longtime friend of the show, Sky Shows.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Very excited to be here.
Very excited to have you on the show, and I just wanted to fix a little audio thing. It was peaking a little bit according to OBS. Strange, interesting, but I'm very happy to have you here on the show. It's been a blast. We planned this out. What is it now? Like 6 weeks almost? 4 to 6 weeks?
I'm not even sure. I remember
Early.
it was a while, like at least September.
It was late September, early October at the latest. But you were the first person to sign up after our buddy who keeps getting shouted out in the show, Kevin Wallace, was like, "Hey, you looking for guests for the rest of September into October?" I'm like, "Sure." And then suddenly my link goes off and it's a booking for the week of Thanksgiving, and I'm like, "Okay." And I know this guy.
Yeah, that's me. You guys just happened to shoot on a day that was like forever busy for me, and Thanksgiving break, I happened to have a break in the schedule, so I was able to jump in. I was like, "Well, let's do it."
No, it was a blast. Like once we talked about it, I was like, yeah, perfect reasoning, solid logic. Yeah, Tuesdays at this early, but not early, simultaneously late hour is not great for everyone. But I'm very happy you were able to make time for the show and to come on, and we get to have a chat. Plus, it works out because since it's the 2 days before Thanksgiving that we're streaming recording this, we can have some Thanksgiving talks and be somewhat timely.
That's good. Definitely one of my more favorite holidays. So
Nice. It's not until recently been one of my favorite holidays, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. So Sky, I have known you for a few years now because my one and only TwitchCon I went to, you were working for Into the AM at the time.
yes, so that was. I think I met you at the booth at TwitchCon in 2017, right?
I think it was.
In Long Beach.
Yeah, it might have been 2017. I thought maybe 2016. That was 2017. Yeah, I met you at the booth. I just happened to be wandering by, and I was in this whole like, looking for sponsors or affiliates or just shit to do with this podcast and just people to talk to and meet people, whether guests or some kind of things. And you were very nice. We had a long conversation, and I was like, well, I don't think this stuff is going to necessarily be for me. And then I started looking at the NZAM stuff, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this style, and we've been chatting ever since. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about your career, because I mean, you're just to be clear, you're not with Into the AM anymore. But what's
Yeah.
been kind of your career path you've been on? Would you say?
Yeah, of course. I mean, kind of, just going back several years ago, I moved down to the SoCal area, just trying to find an industry and break into it. I've always been an avid gamer and was kind of like, I guess I'll try something like this while also going to school to find a real job. And I just so happened to fall into, affiliate marketing, community management marketing, influencer marketing. A lot of them have the same tasks, different names, same idea. And I stumbled upon an ad on Craigslist for an esports intern at the clothing company I had never heard of, and I was like, a lot of these details are weird. One, it's on Craigslist, but it was sent to me by my girlfriend, now wife, and I was like, all right, well, I mean, whatever. The only thing else I got going on is I was actually working at Disneyland at the time, and I was, knowing that I wasn't going to be doing that for the rest of my life and wanted something else. And it was a good side project. I mean, I internship 3 months. I got on, had no idea what I was going to be doing. They just liked me because I was intelligent enough to respond back with some sort of clarity, as well as I had some esports knowledge, which really just meant I was a big fan of all the, at least the more popular esports at the time, mostly League of Legends. And I actually had some team management experience,
Okay.
mostly getting some guys together and trying to break into the League of Legends promotional series. Got pretty close. Didn't get all the way in. But yeah, I mean, that was the only thing I really had on my resume, and it was enough to get in the ground level, I guess, for Into the AM. And once they quickly found out that they really didn't like esports merchandise, I kind of showed them Twitch and was like, "Hey, this is kind of another venture that I think would be good for you guys. Let me spend the rest of my internship because at this point I was like, they're going to just let me go because I don't have anything else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, let's just try this. It's obviously you don't have to pay me. It's an unpaid internship, but I'm just going to try and make you guys some money. And very quickly, just with some success of some great people on Twitch with the program, and it's just started catching fire really. And several years later, I think after like 3.5 years, it had more than like 800, 900 people in the program. It was grossing over like $1.5 million or something, and it was a lot of fun to build it all. And obviously, they started paying me, and I climbed my way up the ladder there. But they had all kind of built on just me recognizing an idea and kind of going at it. So.
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I think that's kind of like the dream kind of thing. You just you get whatever like tiny seeming job in, and then it's like, well, I'm actually going to build something all my own, because I didn't even realize that whole affiliate partnership program was kind of your baby, essentially. That
I would definitely say so. So to be completely fair,
yeah,
they had I'm going to say about 10 affiliates / promoters for the company.
sure.
But again, Into the AM, obviously coming back from a very like strict EDM background,
Sure.
they didn't really have a whole lot of anything in Twitch. I mean, there happened to be a few people who also, promoted on Instagram that also streamed on Twitch. And so there was 2 people on that side. So it was just kind of like, this is what we currently use. See if you can make it bigger. And we definitely did that. So definitely hats off to my then boss, Ryan, who definitely saw the I guess the promise in both me and the program, and gave me the freedom and money to do what I wanted to do with it, and then kind of grew it into what it is. So
I think yeah, that's cool. I mean, with the way it's grown, I mean, just looking at it, because I don't think I go to really any events where like every event I go to, there's at least quite a contingent of Into the AM like clothing people. I usually see one of the same 2 hoodies at most events, and usually a pair of joggers. I'm actually wearing a pair of joggers right now because they are my around the house. I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna do stuff. Also, my embarrass my children at school pants, because I'm known as the dad who wears space pants.
hey, space pants are great. But yeah, I think they did a really good job of both creating the merchandise, and it probably would have been a lot harder to grow a program like that if they didn't have amazing designers designing everything that the people like to buy. So it wasn't necessarily I wouldn't say it's the hardest task, just because they definitely made it easier with the quality.
You make a good product, then people want to buy it and people want to promote it. So essentially, you had a good place to start from, that you could then build something and actually create this stable of influential people, influencers to,
Yeah, who would have thought that you put some decent quality into your product, people will buy it. So that was just the idea, and the Twitch streamers was really just kind of a way to present the merch to people, and then it was just everything else just kind of fell into it. So definitely one of the better quality merchandisers that I've worked with before and since, and I've always thought quality was probably the best thing that they had going for them.
Yeah, I worked around the time actually, it was literally the same time as when we had met and stuff. I'd been working marketing for a promo company, and I was actually at the time very inspired by what I saw Into the AM doing with partnerships and stuff, and I was like, we're trying to launch a clothing line. We need to. I was already thinking this, but I was using the Into the AM partnership thing as kind of like a mini template almost, and my whole thing was like, this is what this other clothing company is doing. They're vastly different from what our style of clothing is, but our stuff is still very youthful and decent quality. We need to hop on this. And I spent 2 months building out a whole program and literally just could not convince the owner for the life of me that it made sense. And I'm like, you will see a return on it, and on what minimal lackluster investment that has to actually be put into this. But
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about affiliate programs is one is you can build some great brand awareness with it, as
Hmm.
well as the people that you bring on are usually are understanding that it's a a success fee that you're paying for them,
Sure.
basically. Sometimes there's procurement costs and extra promises and stuff brought into it, but for the most part, they're only being paid commission.
Yep.
But at the same time, in order to do that, you're also taking kind of a step back from the deliverables and really kind of allowing them to do their promoting in their own way. So you don't really have any way of demanding extra time from them because you're not paying them. But if you set up a program where it rewards them for what they put into it, then they're going to want to promote it, and that's the idea.
Well, that was always the thing that was cool about it. It was the rewards of the program also because affiliate marketing is such a dirty term these days, particularly with streamers, because there's affiliate programs masquerading as proper sponsorships a lot, and then it's kind of
Yeah.
has like this negative connotation. But what I liked always about the Into the AM one was the rewards actually made it worthwhile. For instance, like we're not talking all about Into the AM to be clear on this, but like one of the things I liked about it that you guys had done was the rewards you got for selling essentially was gift cards. So like me, I have a bunch of Into the AM hoodies and pants and the whole God of War line and stuff like that, and I don't know if I really spent almost any money on it because it was all from sales earned and gift cards essentially.
Yeah, I mean, that was the cool thing about it is, and I do agree that affiliate marketing does kind of rub people the wrong way, just not necessarily because the programs themselves out there are bad, but
Yeah.
just because I feel like a lot of the companies out there have taken advantage of certain streamers and influencers when they bring people on for affiliate marketing. It always, to a lot of people, it just kind of seems the same kind of vein as like a multi-level marketing scheme,
I was to say it
which
sounds like it's an MLM
yeah,
essentially, like at least on paper is what it appears to be.
and it really shouldn't be because at the same time, one is you're not being paid to recruit people, and then that's a huge thing. If you ever see an affiliate program where you're being paid more to recruit than you are to sell,
Mm-hmm.
then you're part of an MLM. The other one is this: you have to buy product to join the program.
Yeah.
Just run away. Just that, and we actually did the opposite. It was just more of like, hey, if you sign up and you have, and I think the cutoff was like if you have at least 10,000 followers on all of your social put together, so like Twitter, YouTube, Mixer, Twitch, all combined have 10K, which is a pretty low bar.
Yep.
You will get a free hoodie, and it just helps you start off. If you don't have any of that stuff, then you hit $250 in sales, and we gave you a free hoodie. But again, I'm not sure if that's how
I
they
have
do
no
things.
idea. I haven't, even
Yeah.
though I think we're still part of the program, we haven't done as much with it of late, but still, it was a really cool thing and a really cool thing you did there. I want to talk about current projects and stuff and the future from there, but you said something before. I had just a question for about what did you do at Disneyland? What was your
Oh,
gig?
yeah. So I actually was at Disneyland for 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a long time. I'm a huge Disney guy.
Same.
Kind of almost bleed Disney. I met my wife there. So it was a huge part of my life and still is,
Yeah.
annual pass holder, huge fan of Disney Plus and everything. Watched mm, pretty much everything that they already had on that library, but I just love having access to it.
Same.
But I started out at the Plaza Inn restaurant, and it's right at the end of Main Street
Mm-hmm.
before the castle on the right hand side. They sell fried chicken, pot roast, Cobb salad, stuff like that. And so that's the home restaurant, but it's actually a complex.
Mm-hmm.
And so they also controlled at the time, and I think the district's been redrawn because Disney's really interesting. But the complex at the time was the Plaza Inn restaurant, the Little Red Wagon corn dog cart,
Mm-hmm.
the Main Street fruit cart, and then all of the vending carts along Main Street. And over time, I basically just kind of became the lead of all of the vending carts.
That's
And then
pretty cool.
after that, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, the big thing was turkey legs. I mean, I sold a shitload of turkey legs. Um,
Probably to
and
my
I just
father-in-law, a lot of them.
maybe I don't know. I was never a turkey leg guy, and it just amazed me how fast we sold these things.
Yeah.
But after that, or after my wife ended up graduating from college, and she got a what we call a big girl job, I decided I don't really want to stay at the restaurant anymore. It just didn't really make a whole lot of sense for me. So I left and went to attractions.
Okay.
and started out on the Jungle Cruise as a skipper. So I was the guy that told all the jokes and drove the boats. And then also got
What?
knowledge
What?
at the Indiana Jones attraction.
Nice. What year would you have been doing Jungle Cruise? Just pure curiosity, roughly.
Oh, it was about 3 years ago.
All right.
So yeah, right around like 2016, 2015, something like that is when
There's
I.
a fair chance you were our skipper at some point. My wife and I we got married at Disneyland, so
Oh, okay,
we did
wonderful.
the Rose Court Garden wedding and had a reception in Sleeping Beauty Ballroom and
Wow.
spent an entire week pretty much at the park. Like the Sunday after the wedding, dragged like 43 people through the park, and
Um,
we were those assholes being like, "Hey, so we just got married here yesterday," and you would see like the people running the attraction be like, "Okay." We're gonna make your day very special. We're gonna get all of you right away on Space Mountain. Also, oh no.
yeah, I mean they love doing stuff
Oh,
like
I
that.
know they do.
I
But there's like a
remember,
fear for that split second where they're
yeah, I
counting the
mean
amount of people.
it's always just kind of like, what can we do? I
Mhm.
want to help, and
Yeah.
it's more of it's not even so much of a now we have to help this person.
Oh,
It's
I
just
know.
more, oh my god, I want to do something. What can I do? And they're almost like rushed. But I mean, Disney is a really good example of companies that know how great that like interaction is. They
Mhm.
call them guests, but obviously everyone calls them customers.
Yep.
How that customer interaction is. So they would actually give me shifts, but at least half a shift, like 4 hours, to just go around and like make magic for people. Which really just meant go find someone and get them a fast pass to their favorite ride, or take them on a tour into the Forbidden Temple of Indiana Jones, or like something like that. Just go find them a spot for the fireworks. Just spend your entire day basically just making people happy, and that was a lot of fun. So
That's really cool. My wife and I, years ago, when we didn't really like have a career path, we didn't have any plans, and we were briefly looking into a Southern California move. We were like, maybe we should just go work at Disneyland, just move to Southern California, get a job. We didn't like really think about logistics specifically, but it was like pre-marriage and
yeah,
everything. Let's just go get a job and just do that for a little while until we figure shit out. And
I
it
would.
didn't,
Yeah,
it
I
didn't
mean
end up working out. Now the plan is to be the old people who work in Disneyland once we're retired.
that's a solid strategy. I mean, there's a lot of people who just kind of just decided to retire and just get a part-time job at Disneyland.
Yep.
I think it's a solid strategy, knowing that how they schedule for holidays. I'm kind of against that, just because I like spending time with my family at Christmas and
Sure.
Thanksgiving. No, so if definitely, I mean, for the 5 years that I worked there, I worked every New Year's Eve, every Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, and it really felt like I was being like ostracized from my family,
Hmm.
just because I had no way of catching up with them. I mean, but obviously, you work when everybody else is playing, and you play when everybody else is working. So it meant that I got to do whatever I wanted, basically Monday through Friday. But Saturday, Sunday, and Friday, I had to be at the park. I had to be working. So
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and that's also rough as hell. But it's I don't know. I'm just later in life convert to the Disneyland magic and stuff like that. So it's just one of those things
Mhm.
I always think about. Like, what could we do something with that? And what could we actually do working with Disney in some capacity? Because just for like just the experience at some point in life, it just sounds something
Yeah,
interesting. Who knows if what direction anything will take, as it were. But I think it's really cool, man. Getting the like having that Disney history, and also I just like being able to talk to people who are into Disney and understand Disney
that's
stuff.
me and my wife. Yeah, we actually spent our honeymoon, at
Mm-hmm.
least half of our honeymoon, at the Alani Hawaiian Resort in at Oahu.
My wife wanted that's one of the places my wife wanted us to go. We just didn't. We never got to do a honeymoon proper. So
Well, I mean, you might have to go back because they got a lot of stuff for kids. But man, it's a beautiful resort. I think they do a really good job of both giving you that resort feel without taking away from the natural beauty of the island. Obviously, if you want to get like a real experience the culture of Oahu, you have to kind of go outside the resort. But
sure,
just being there, I mean, it was a really cool place to just reset.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, I just I right now I'm in my head like we're talking Disney. I'm also just like I get to go to Disneyland and I'm very excited. I don't get to go with her. My wife has already been to Galaxy's Edge. She's going
Oh,
again in December, and I'm gonna be in town for DreamHack Anaheim. So it's just like I told Justin, my co-host, I'm like, we're going to Disneyland. I'm gonna
oh,
be
there you go.
across the street from the park. We are gonna talk to we're gonna talk to any friends we have in the Southern California area, see if anyone wants to go with us, and then we are going to Galaxy's Edge, and I am spending more money than I have any need to spend.
I can understand that. At least being local, it allows me to have pass, so that's always been nice.
Yeah, that's if job stuff ever eventually works out. I keep saying to Charnel, I'm like, Southern California move, yeah, it different cost of living, a lot of different changes, but once we're all out there, Disneyland's right there.
Yes,
Like, just just go for a kids and us a family date one day or such, and it's just like it's just right there. It's just the perks. That perk alone is very enticing.
agreed. Yeah, it was one of the big reasons why I moved down here.
Cool. So let's talk what you're currently doing. So you left into the AM, and
Mhm.
I believe went right over to the brand amp. Was that your?
So I actually worked at a little bit of a startup platform in El Segundo called Noise, Noiz.
I know
It's
noise.
so if you stream on if you stream on Mixer or Twitch or even make YouTube content, they do what we call like micro sponsorships,
Hmm.
which is just kind of like a real short 2 hour run, and then you get paid a fee. Very similar to like bounty boards, but it's more approachable. So it's not just for the top tier people; it's for everyone. I think the while I was there, the smallest campaign we did was if you had average concurrent viewership of 5 people, you could participate in the campaign. And I think the payment was obviously small. I think it was like $5 or $10 for 2 hours of streaming with 5 people. But I mean, at the same time, you only have 5 viewers. You're trying to grow and you're getting started. And it was at least a nice way of being able to participate in a campaign and start building up your knowledge and your experience in that way. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm still on their email list. I've done one of their campaigns before, but it's been various different things. They've done like a campaign where it was just if you have this X number, we'll provide you with a Minecraft server for you and your community was one of them, and another one was, well, you can still do the Minecraft thing, but we'll give you a discount on the server and stuff like that. It was like a lot of things related. I forget which company they were working with, but there's a lot of
Probably.
different ones like that. There's been a lot of interesting, as you said, micro sponsorships. It's an
Mhm.
interesting platform that there's a bunch of different versions I've been seeing pop up here and there.
Yeah.
So let's talk brand amp and what you do over there.
Got it. Yeah. So at the Brand Amp, I am a influencer marketing manager. We have a whole influencer department, which, to tell you the truth, is really cool because pretty much any other place I've been to, it's just influencer management. There's one person, and
Mm-hmm.
they're extremely overwhelmed. So
Well,
it's nice to
they're
be.
also a community manager. They're also social media manager. They're also like a digital video editor. Like they're like seven different positions and influencer stuff. Just sort of happens to be the title that they decided to put because they knew it would attract the most
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
20 somethings.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, it was very much like, it's like I fit the team really well. They were really needing someone with like a gaming background, so it was really fun to go to. They have a lot of clients kind of in that space that they wanted to be able to offer my experience and my knowledge to. So it was a really good fit, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But yeah, when it comes to like having multiple titles for the same job, I mean, the team that we have here is incredible, and some of their knowledge is really built out well in social media, community management, and now influencers. So it's at least nice to know that I can kind of dabble in anything and everything, really.
Yeah.
Whether if I want to jump to some PR stuff, go into like do maybe set up with the events team, content. I mean, we do basically all of it, and it's a lot of fun being able to put my hands in all of the departments.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I like any company that allows you to acquire more skills but doesn't require you to acquire skills outside of the purview of your job. Like that's
Oh,
the kind
yeah.
of the way I always look at it.
Yeah, so even though it's definitely not the smallest company I've ever
No.
worked with, it's definitely decently big. but at the same time, it still has that small company feel where like everyone knows each other's name. And
Hmm.
just because you're working with a few clients doesn't mean you're not going to help out with some others, and you really just got to experience a lot of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, then let's see. What would you say is something with specifically kind of like what you do with influencer marketing? Let's like focus on that. What's something that you think people don't understand about influencer marketing that maybe like the mass public or most people like seeing like influencer marketing manager or something like that, or those kind of things that they just don't understand about this type of stuff?
Hmm.
That's a tricky question.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and I could sit here for 10, 15 minutes and think of a whole bunch of different answers.
Mhm.
But the one that comes to my mind the closest is that most people think that a lot of the engagement they see between like themselves and a social influencer
Yeah.
is organic. Like it's definitely something that they just thought of, and there's definitely no like secondary motive behind it. This video that I'm watching is clearly just for my entertainment and nothing else. When in reality, most of the content, especially on Instagram that you see, is very much derived from a point or a sponsored post or
Mm-hmm.
trying to push a product or push a location or a service, something like that. And I think a lot of people don't really fully see it. As well as when it comes to definitely a certain size of influencer or on the smaller side, they definitely try and fake some of the product sponsors that they have just by posting about a product and presenting it in a way that makes it seem, like they were sponsored,
Yep.
just to kind of warm their audiences up to it. And then, someone like me in my position would see that and go, oh, well, maybe they've worked with this brand before, so they must be decent to work with. And that's the idea. But it's a lot of it is a little, not, I wouldn't say facade, but a lot of it is just kind of telling yourself that you're going to do it and that you can do it and faking it until you make it. That's, kind of quite honestly what a lot of influencer marketing is. But as long as the numbers are there, it's good to kind of show the different talent options that you have.
Yeah, I mean, with that's kind of like been my perspective on influencer marketing because it's such a new realm of things. It was essentially a podcast episode, but we did a talk at PAX East this year. This stage showed the Versus Evil booth, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna give you, like an hour time. What's you do?" I'm like, "I'll do a podcast on," and I'm like, "Well, shit, who the hell is available for this?" And I ended up realizing I had a few people who did influencer marketing who were to be the event and available. I'm like, "We're gonna do a whole talk on the types of influencers and the importance of micro influencers versus larger influencers and the changing market, yada yada yada." And then I hopped into the show and I'm like, oh shit, okay, now this is an interesting topic. So I learned a lot during that. It just was one of those things that popped into my head, and I've always been fascinated and kind of started me on this journey from just being interested in PR to also being interested in the influencer marketing thing. So I think from my perspective, the confusion a lot of people have about influencer stuff seems to stem from the idea of this belief that everything on social media is real, and not understanding the social media. I think somebody made a perfect post about this earlier. I wish I could remember exactly who it was, but there was this perfect post that was talking about how social media is nothing but slice of life performance art. And that's essentially what influencer marketing is. It's a usually paid engagement that is showing off, a performance art related to the person's branding or what they're doing, but for promotional purposes. It's the new age of commercials, but
Yeah.
sometimes insidious, sometimes not.
Yeah, and I'd say that's existent in a lot of our media
Sure.
platforms, even including like paid PR. It's definitely something that we see a lot more of, and I don't necessarily think it's insidious, like you say. I think it's definitely just something people have to be cognizant of.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it exists for a reason. I mean, these influencers do have real influence, and I think that's what's really powerful. Is that it's just really nice to see the individual have
Mm-hmm.
so much power versus just like a company or like a giant agency or a corporation. And that's what these influencers are, and especially off of like Instagram, YouTube, where it's almost like they're completely self-made. No one handed them success, and they really just kind of worked at it. And now they're making millions of dollars just because they're able to capitalize on their ability to influence the masses. And that's really cool to see because 10 years ago, I definitely would have had no idea that this type of industry would have existed. I fell into it,
Yeah.
kind of growing into it. It was not something I planned for. I had no idea what I was going to be when I grew up 10 years ago, but I mean, here we are.
I mean, I didn't know what I was gonna be when I grew up, like last year. So it's, we all have a different understandings of who we are and different things we discover. But yeah, influencer marketing is because again, it's such an old concept. I mean, you can go back to old school television and see in like the middle of a black and white show them like hawking a product. Some people would say that's a product placement, but the way they were, product placements nowadays are, oh, there happens to be this brand of car in the new Avengers movie, but old school like I Love Lucy and stuff like that, they would be like, oh, I love using this, Calgon, thing or whatever kind of stuff. And
Exactly.
it would just be in the middle of a scripted television show and that was scripted into it. But that essentially, the way I've always looked at is that's kind of just retro influencer marketing because you have a major actor, talking about a product in a way that fits in with their show and stuff like that. And it's subtle and simple, and that's kind of what it's grown into. It's just marketing comes in new waves and new styles of things, and in the
Oh, of
last 5 years,
course. I
this has
mean,
blown up.
yeah, and they definitely, especially for product placement in multi-international TV
Yeah.
or movies, they definitely look at things like CPA, and they definitely look at just how much brand awareness that they can bring in, and they're definitely extremely careful about where the logo is on their placement
Hmm.
and make sure exactly it's used in the correct light and isn't damaging to their brand.
Yep.
So, I mean, I completely get it and understand. But at least for the influencer side, and I think this is what speaks to the real strength of influencer marketing, is that it's so much easier to convert, meaning to actually like get someone to buy something from an influencer post.
Hmm.
Where in a movie, if you see a Burger King ad, or Iron Man's holding the Burger King bag as he like first gets rescued from Iron Man 1, and he says like, that's all I wanted is a Burger King burger. Giant product placement. But you're in the middle of a movie theater. You're probably stuffed on popcorn or an icy or soda, and you're not going to just immediately go buy Burger King. You
I
may
would
get it
love to see the
afterwards.
person who does do that, by the way, who just got up in the middle of the movie and said,
Exactly.
shit, Burger King.
I'll catch this movie later. But I mean, at least from an influencer
Yeah.
standpoint, if you see your favorite influencer, talking about something that they can get online right now, people are going to click to that store. And if they click to that store, there's a high chance that they're going to either buy that product or interact with that brand at least one more time. And from like a brand marketing side of it, I mean, that's so powerful because they're also going to hit you with dynamic retargeting ads. You're probably going to sign up for their mailer. You're going to see those ads used on like Twitter and Facebook and whatever else. I mean, you're going to interact with that brand again, and you're going to buy. And if you like the product, which hopefully that they're doing a good job of delivering quality, then you're going to keep coming back. But you're going to be able to really identify yourself with that brand and with that influencer. That really creates a powerful dynamic. And you don't really find that in like other services. I mean, traditional ads where you see, someone showcasing a product on a TV commercial, unless you really identify with who that celebrity is, you don't really care. It's so impersonal. Where influencer marketing can really have that personal touch that really derives that extra return on investment.
Well, I mean, again, just go to any gaming event and look at what people are wearing, or look at what people's bags are, or any combination thereof. You look at that, and if you are familiar with the streaming space or the YouTube space, or any of these content creator spaces where, again, influencer marketing is the biggest deal, and you can literally see, okay, the X person's wearing this outfit, and then you could look to your right and be like, oh, this person's here. They must, and they're heading to the signing for this person. I know that person is part of this program, and like you can literally see the cause and effect right in front of you of these people who were part of this community, and it spoke to them because they wanted to be deeper in this community, which meant buying the clothes their favorite streamer was wearing, or using the energy drink their favorite YouTuber used, or what have you. So
Yeah.
there's a lot more instant bang for your buck for both the audience, the streamer, and for the companies who are doing this. Is what it seems to be, and it seems to only be growing as the years go on and growing more sophisticated in interesting ways.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And I think that we're only going to see that kind of grow. I don't think influencer marketing is a fad.
Oh no.
I think as we continue and we have, several different platforms rise to the top and some others fall to the side, I think we're going to just see stronger relationships built between the influencers and they're influenced. At the same time, though, I think that now that the space is becoming a lot more crowded with possible influencers.
Mm-hmm.
It's also going to bring down the price a little bit. So some of the tip top first tier influencers are still going to be extremely expensive, and that's fine. However, you're going to get a lot more return on investment ROI on the smaller people.
Yep.
And since it's a little bit easier to break into that market, you're going to kind of see more, at least from a company standpoint, more affordable prices to work with these people, which means there's going to be more opportunities for those people to get work. And that's where I really see a lot of influencer marketing going to, is less emphasis on the Kylie Jenners and the Kim Kardashians of the world, and more people who just happen to stream on Twitch and have 30, 40 average concurrent viewers who just consistently just have a really strong community, because it's going to be a cheaper and stronger message to those 40 people than it is to Kylie Jenner's 1.5 billion or whatever it is. And that's the real strength behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially what we talked about earlier this year, PAX East, was just that fact of when you get this more niche, this smaller community, but that is always on Discord. They're always talking. They're always having these conversations. They're almost like a family. Those people are, those influencers are the ones who really draw the attention and really build off of. Versus, you might support, as you said, Kylie Jenner, or you might support Ninja, who has millions or billions or millions people. But what's the actual percentage of those people who are actually going to buy through?
You're right, and it has a very little personal touch to it. I mean, if you go to any Twitch streamer that has, I don't know, I think more than 3,000 people watching them, it's almost impossible to have have any kind of communication with them. I mean, unless you're willing to pay, $3 or whatever to, tip them and then include a message in the tip. But at that point, I mean, just like that's such a weird conversation. I mean, you just see Twitch chat flying by. No one's really paying attention to it. It's full of copy pasta. And at the same time, it's just there's not any personal interaction there. So as an influencer marketer, I definitely take that into consideration when I approach these people and say, like, hey, yeah, of course you have 8,000 people watching you at any given time, but historically we haven't seen very much follow through. We haven't seen that community really latch on. Where with these smaller communities, I would rather work with 100 small guys than maybe 2 or 3 big guys. I mean, you're also putting a little bit of a diversity in your nest egg. So you're having a lot of different eggs in a basket, where if one fails, you still have 40 other people to really carry you to victory. Where if you're working with, Ninja, Kylie Jenner, whatever other example you want to do, if they just botch the delivery, or they just really don't care about the product, or for whatever reason it falls flat, I mean, you've lost your entire marketing budget because they are extremely expensive and they're not converting on what you wanted. So it's something that people just have to be really aware of, especially brands as they journey into influencer marketing without any kind of experience. And I think that's where the brand amp and our company does a really good job of kind of holding their hands as they walk into this new bright shiny influencer marketing space, where they think, oh, I'm just gonna, like, why can't we just give $50,000 to some giant person and to get them to post? And I was like, well, probably not enough to get them to do what you want. And then how do you know that they're going to give you any value back?
Yep.
Here's the approach, right? And that's kind of where we step in and show them what's the best way to go.
I think it's cool. That's legitimately really cool, and I think that's a really cool. I mean, again, we talked about it's a great way of going about things, making sure you break it up amongst different people, and that way, again, one part of it maybe doesn't work out the way you expected. You still have multiple other pieces to the campaign that actually allows the message to get across, or whatever message you're going for.
Exactly.
So let's go on to our other topic as we kind of wrap up things. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show that Thanksgiving from recording time is in 2 days. And I just want, you mentioned at the top of the show, it's one of your favorite holidays. So I want to know why. Why is
So,
Thanksgiving?
and I don't know, obviously, like I come from an extremely small family. And when I mean small, I mean, I think there was at the most one time 12 people that would show up at my house, and that's including like every grandparent, cousins, brothers, sisters. Like I just generally didn't have a very large family, so it was really nice to see everybody in at one place at the same time. And at least from my perspective, obviously I wasn't the one cooking, so maybe someone who actually cooks on Thanksgiving might have a different feeling about it. But it was just such a relaxing time. It was when my mind finally checked and go, oh, here's the holidays. We're kind of going into the, no school, Christmas presents, holiday music, like good food. I can start winding down. And I really liked that. And it was just a really nice, like, family precursor to the holidays. It was a good kickoff point.
Makes sense. Yeah, I was the opposite because no one in my dad's side of the family, who I usually divorced parents, so I was mostly Thanksgiving was mostly his holiday. Most of my childhood, nobody liked each other, so it was always like, oh, okay. It's not the biggest family either, but it was always like one of those just very stereotypical TV kind of Thanksgivings where there's just like the weirdest conversations going on and stuff like that. It wasn't
Yeah.
until I personally got older and I met my wife, who Thanksgiving's her absolute favorite holiday, and she started cooking Thanksgivings and stuff like that, that it actually grew into one of my favorites. Personally, I have permanently vetoed. We are never hosting a Thanksgiving again because last year was just. Well, we have this tendency that every single time we agree to host a Thanksgiving, she coincidentally seems to get pregnant with about a few months beforehand. And the
Wow.
last Thanksgiving we did, she was thankfully only about 3 to 4 months pregnant. Uh, the anger that it was in that room from family members trying to help her when she is fully capable of doing stuff, expecting her, thinking she was more pregnant, it created a lot of issues. But the first Thanksgiving we did, she was little over 8 months pregnant,
Okay.
handling everything, and it was
God
phenomenal
bless her
food,
heart.
ridiculous experience.
Yeah, I mean, my wife was definitely not pregnant. I think she was pregnant, but we did not know she was pregnant. So it was before we found out. It was right
Gotcha.
around. And then we were able to have that like magical tell the family about it during Christmas time. So that was really cool. But I don't know. Thanksgiving's always just been a nice, relaxing holiday. Especially now, my wife is Hispanic, and we go over to her family's house sometimes, and it's just you see all of all of the aunts and my wife and like the female cousins and members of the family are all in the kitchen just doing as much as they want, everything they can possible, and it's just all of the guys are sitting on the couch watching football or whatever. And that was a really funny experience, and
The
because it was
super
just like,
traditional, like, kind of
yeah,
Thanksgiving view.
exactly. And I was like, hey, can I help? And they're like, no, don't even ask,
How
go
dare
over
you?
there, push, push me over there. Like, if all right, you want to help, here, hold this baby, just hold the baby, and you're fine. Just entertain the kids, and you're helping immensely. And I did that. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll play babysitter. Kid was only like 4 months old, and I held it. I held her. She fell asleep, and it was easy. So I don't know. I've always been a big fan. I've never honestly liked traditional Thanksgiving food,
Yeah.
but my family was always able to deliver on the non-traditional Thanksgiving food. So
Yeah, growing up, and this is because I had a lot of bad Thanksgiving experiences when we would travel to family members. The traditional super unseasoned dry turkey. The only person in the history of the world who actually screwed up both mashed potatoes and like that was like the kind of Thanksgivings I grew up with. So
yeah.
when my dad took over Thanksgivings when I was like the actual cooking of it when I was like 10 or so, I vetoed like every Thanksgiving food. So we would like I grew up into my teens having like cheese lasagna for
Okay.
Thanksgiving. and stuff like that. It
No.
wasn't to my wife, who now, we do. She does this like beautiful turkey, and she does a lot of. She does spins on the traditional kind of things, and
Got
that's now that's now my sweet spot for Thanksgiving. But so
it.
what's for you? What's your favorite Thanksgiving food? What's the
Food.
what's your favorite, and then also what's the one that you're just like, I'm just gonna be polite and put it on my plate, and I'm just gonna.
Oh, all right. Well, definitely for the favorite first. And I'll give you two answers. One is because my grandmother hated turkey. And so, very early on, whenever we had Thanksgiving dinner and she was there, we had honey glazed ham. We also had turkey, but I just didn't eat it. And I would just like put a crap load of ham on my plate, and I just absolutely loved it. So, I was a big fan of the ham, as well as my mom. My dad did most of the cooking growing up, but my mom had one dish that she absolutely blew out of the park every year, and it was her green bean casserole. And I will eat her green bean casserole any day. I mean, that is delicious stuff. So those two are definitely the favorites, and probably for the least favorite, I would say and I don't even know why it's a thing, to be honest, cranberry sauce.
Hmm.
I absolutely hate it. It tastes so gross. Like I hate cranberries anyway. Like I have a theory that cranberries are just trying to take over all of our other juices. Like you can't find juice that doesn't have cranberries in it, and I freaking hate it. And so people offer me either like even they made like homemade cranberry sauce, not the one that comes out of the can that still has the shape of the can, but actual like homemade sauce. And they're like, just try it. It's better. And I tried it and I thought it was fucking gross. And I never had just never will eat cranberries. So not a fan.
Hey, I mean, that I went too far over. That we all have our things. I was not expecting cranberry sauce. Usually that's not one you hear. Usually it's the thing of, oh, I don't like the canned one, but the homemade one. So I
I can't
appreciate
stand
it.
either.
Yeah. I just don't like anything where people throw like random amounts of sugar on it. That's always been my like anti-Thanksgiving thing, where people are just like, let's make these delicious mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes and throw like 9 pounds of sugary substance on top, and it's just like I like just give me the sweet potatoes, just give me like the yams, just give me like that, those kind of things. They're good on their own. You don't have to add a filler to them, kind of thing.
Got
But
it. Then here's one that you may not have experienced before, but
okay.
since I did not have cranberry sauce, my parents would always give me applesauce instead. And I didn't think this was weird. I thought everyone did this until my wife told me it was possibly the weirdest white people thing I've ever done. Where I mixed my ham and my applesauce together, and it's so good. It's the best. I don't know why everybody else doesn't do this. Like I'm normally a big fan of not letting my food touch because I like eating everything individually.
Uh-huh.
But ham and applesauce, just mix it up. Love it.
I simultaneously get why that's weird and also want to try it at the same time. Like that does sound weird to me, but the sweetness of the apple, I mean, apples and ham kind of flavor makes sense together. So, you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, I just might be a weird white guy saying that. So hey, what? but,
I don't know. Like, and even when I'm just home alone and I want to be lazy, I'll just get a package of ham, a jar of applesauce, and like dip it into it, and But that's just me. I'm a disgusting human being, apparently.
nah, we've all got our shtick. We've all got our things we do, or our weird food quirks and stuff like that. I mean, I was the person who literally, until I was in my teens, I couldn't let food that was different color touch each other. And when I say that, I mean like if I ordered a salad, it would give me such bad paranoia if there were two slightly different colored lettuce touching each other. I was
Got it.
I was a bit out of my head with some weird things. Thankfully, I was a very picky eater who refused to admit I was a picky eater until I met my wife, and it's now sadly her whole family still thinks I'm a picky eater. When meanwhile I will nowadays, you say try this food, am I allergic to it? No, okay, I will try it. Or
Yeah, dig in.
you gotta try stuff. I'm really looking forward to this year's Thanksgiving because tomorrow morning, actually, in about 14 hours, flying to Colorado, going to the middle of nowhere, and my wife's gonna cook a massive Thanksgiving dinner, and it's just gonna be, I think, 6 adults and 4 kids.
Wow. Well,
Tiny little
cool. Well,
thing.
yeah. Well, I hope you have fun there.
Oh,
That sounds fun, actually.
I'm excited.
I've never been to Colorado.
Yeah, we went for the first time last year, and it was nice. I mean, I live in Arizona, so essentially it was the same thing. It's a high desert.
Hmm.
It was cold, but also kind of had a warmth to it, and that was actually what started. You and I've talked a lot about off the podcast and stuff about like me wanting to move for work and stuff like that. And Colorado became a very strong candidate. But video game jobs in Colorado don't really they exist just about as much as in Arizona. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's some good stuff here and there, but not much really happens. Saber in the chat's asking just rum ham. So I think we got a always sunny question, but I
Okay.
think that's what that is. But I've not done rum ham personally for any holiday.
Neither have I. I mean, I must have missed that episode. It's Always Sunny.
I think that's what
But
that is from.
yeah, I'll probably have to look into it. But I love rum and I love ham, so that'd probably be something I'd be willing to try.
Yeah, Saber saying Sky, you disappoint me. Just so you know.
Okay, it is something I hear at least once a day. So
I feel you. I entirely feel you on that. So, is there any other things you would like to discuss before we close out, whether on the marketing or the Thanksgiving side? Topics,
I
think of.
mean, gosh, there's so many topics.
I know. Yeah.
All right, here's one. Just so we can like definitely throw this in there.
Sure.
What is your pick for? And I'm going to give you two things to pick. What's the best game of the year, and what's the best game of the decade?
So here's the fun note: we actually got episodes of for both those topics coming up in December. We haven't officially announced, but I will give you. So for the year, are we saying? So this is the qualification I always say to people: are we saying the best? Like objectively, this game is really good, or my best? Just to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't played every game out there, and the
Okay.
games that I've constantly seen as the best game of the decade or the best game of the year are games that either like came out on a PlayStation and I just didn't have. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely willing to, give you leeway either way.
All
Yeah.
right, so I'm gonna go with mine personally. Then, my best game of this year is pretty much gonna be Jedi Fallen Order. I just finished it the other day. Now I could be a little it's the most recent game I played. I could be a little bit in that mode, and I am hardcore into Star Wars mode right now. But despite being a bit of a broken game, it was just one of the best Star Wars stories I've ever seen, and the combat was great, and it was just enjoyable from start to finish. I got to visit. I've dreamed as a Star Wars fan of visiting the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk for years, and not the version we got in Star Wars Galaxies, which was this flat plane. Not the version we got in Knights of the Republic, which again was this flat like plane thing. I wanted to climb trees. I wanted to explore, and this game lets you go around the forest of Kashyyyk and climb trees and really it's still a linear path, but it makes you believe you're not on a linear path.
Well,
So
there you go.
that's
I'm
my strong
excited to play
contender.
that game. I haven't actually played that game yet, and I'm a huge Star Wars guy. So my next follow up question to that, with all of the amazing, I guess, features that have come out, would you say that if like let's say if there was a today version of Knights of the Old Republic, would Fallen Order be better than that?
Here's my controversial take. I don't think Knights of the Republic, for me personally, was that good of a game.
Wow,
I
that
know
is a
that's.
hot take.
I think it was. I liked it when it first came out, but people went on all these rants and raves about it being the game of the decade and the century, and all these amazing things about it, and like the big reveal. And I thought it was a good story. I liked a lot of the characters. It was obviously where my love of BioWare kind of stems from that game, but I never thought it was absolutely earth shattering. However, if I was to compare a Knights of the Republic made now, and the closest thing we have is Old Republic, which is phenomenal, but not the same thing.
Yeah.
I would say I probably put Fallen Order higher purely because I like the combat style more. If we're talking similar combat, however, if they did a Knights of the Old Republic but with more of the modern BioWare, combat styles like a Dragon Age Inquisition or a Mass Effect
I was gonna
Andromeda,
say, yeah, yeah.
then Knights of the Republic would probably win out, I think. Just
Interesting.
because the more expansive RPG choice kind of thing.
Okay. My reaction to that is first, how fucking dare you talk to me about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic not being the best game ever made? Because it definitely was close to it. I don't know. I grew up that was oh, you mean there's more to a video game than just jumping on a platform? Okay, like I don't know. It came out right at a time where I was so like susceptible to playing a good RPG for the first time, and it was definitely the first RPG I ever beat. And I remember it took me probably fucking forever thinking about it, at least like a year of just not playing it continuously, but just kind of like, oh, I can't get past this thing on Korriban. All right, well, I'll turn off the game and play something else and come back to it like a month later and then finally beat it. And you're like, oh, okay, got to keep grinding the story. And you know, I had no idea how to build things or how to build my character. You know, so I'd run into combat and you would just see miss, 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 miss. So I don't know. It was a huge learning curve for me, but it was the first thing that really tailored me to this is how a video game should be. This is how a video game should be built, and it should be difficult and surprising and just kind of like crazy. So with that, I'm at least excited that people who I've known were obsessed with Knights of the Old Republic are just as obsessed with the Fallen Order, and that's why I'm really excited to play it.
It's a cool game. On the Knights Republic thing, I will say one thing. It was the first game to let me do my childhood dream of joining the Sith Order, pretty much, and actually just beginning to be those people. So it definitely gets points in that regard because that was all I wanted as a kid. I was never a Jedi.
Yeah.
I was either I wanted to be a smuggler or a bounty hunter, or I wanted to be a Sith. And
Yes.
the actual like tenets of the Sith, not necessarily just the I'm a dark Jedi, I'm gonna stab people, but like that hunt for power and artifacts and like that particular approach was big into childhood Josh's head. So
I feel you on that. I remember and you know, it's so funny that back then when I was, you know, 10 or playing this game or whatever, I would completely just be a badass dark Jedi Sith person, just kill anyone, had no problem. And now I'm like, oh, I don't know, the guy's struggling. I don't want to like with him. Like that's really fucked up. Where back
that's
then I was just kind of like there's this part of the game where you're in Tatooine
yeah.
and you run by this guy who's just working on a swoop bike and you're like, hey, what are you looking at? He's like, I wasn't looking at you, I was just working on the swoop bike. And then you're like, oh yeah, and you like crush his throat. And I was like, there's no point in that.
Mhm.
He had like $10 on him, but you're like, fuck that guy, you know.
I remember these now. I remember that exactly. You know, I mean, that was me playing Old Republic as well. That came out when I was like older and started thinking about things. I was like, well, I'm gonna play the Sith Inquisitor, and I'm just gonna be all Sith-like and stuff. And then there would just be the options where I'm like, well, this guy's having a rough time. I'm just gonna a few light side points aren't gonna hurt me in this regard.
He's got a family.
He's got a family, and like I don't really want to take him away from his kids. And then I end the original game for that particular character, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like 75% light side. Oh god, what have I become? I'm a good person who wants to be helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel the same way.
Yeah, I know. I get it. So let me ask you then. So you haven't played as much maybe, but what's your game of the year? End with that. What would you say right now?
I don't know. Obviously, there's been a lot of games that have come out that have had like a huge, you know, I guess take on the industry.
Sure.
And it's kind of a cop out, I would say, but I just don't really have anything else that really fits as a good game of the year. But that being said, I'm really happy with how World of Warcraft Classic came out. And obviously, it's a weird. There's a weird asterisk right here on that one because it's a repeat of an old game. Well, not even that. It's an old game. Like they just re-released it and just kind of like presented it back to the masses. But when it comes to cultural impact and like how many people were just like batshit crazy about that game, man, like it had it. I mean, Blizzard instantly jumped to the top of some of the highest sub rates again because they were able to bring back that game. And I do say there is definitely a little bit of a marketing genius to getting people to pay to play an old game,
Oh,
and they
absolutely.
did it. And they came in and just like not only did they pay to play that old game, like they just shoved money in their faces. Like it was the true embodiment of that Fry meme from Futurama. You know, shut up and take my money. So I don't know. I definitely feel like World of Warcraft Classic has the top spot for at least this year on releasing a game that had the most shakeup on an industry. I mean, one is, and I think they almost shot themselves in the foot about it, is people now look at the actual retail version of World of Warcraft and goes, "What is this piece of shit? Look at what it used to be, and now look at what it is now." And I don't know. I haven't played WoW retail until I don't know, like 2 months ago or whatever. I didn't want to give them my money anymore for the whole Hong Kong thing, and
Sure.
even though a lot of that's blown over now, which is whatever. I'm still like I don't know. I don't feel like going back to play WoW retail, but WoW Classic maybe.
You're,
But I don't
you're
know.
not the only person I'm hearing, particularly in the post Hong Kong thing. You're not the only person I'm hearing say that, where they're like, "Yeah, I was subscribed, I was playing both things, and I'm just like not gonna do it anymore." Oh, WoW Classic, actually, maybe I will play again.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. Maybe we can have me on next year, and I'll answer the follow up of am I still playing WoW Classic? But I'm just saying, man, like it was definitely like a really cool time for the game, and I keep like thinking that they're just gonna wait until some horrible thing happens, and for the PR just to announce that they're bringing Legacy Wrath of the Lich King servers back, and I'll just be like, a minute, fuck you, Lich King, we're going.
Yeah, I didn't touch WoW Classic because I didn't have the nostalgia for it. I didn't start playing till Burning Crusade, but so help me if they announced Burning Crusade and or Lich King,
Yeah.
uh, classic servers. I even looked at my wife. I'm like, I'm playing this again, and she looked at me. She's like, yeah, same. Like she like we both had this moment where we're just like, yeah, clearly we're both playing this again if they
Yeah.
if they go that route. And I would be very much surprised if we don't see every at this point with how well Classic's been doing, or at least seems to be doing. I would not be surprised if we see every couple of years like an expansion Classic or something like that server or two pop up.
Yeah, I think they're going to want to do, space it out in time, but
Yeah, a couple of
I,
years in between, or at least.
they really need to fix the retail, and I think that they're at least going to be trying to do that. But you know, political conversations aside, I'm hoping that they can recover.
Same. I feel that, and I get that. Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been a blast getting to chat with you. So where can people find you? The things you're doing, if they're interested.
Yes, yes. So if you thought that my ideas were okay, or you just want to tell me how bad of opinions I have, you could always find me on Twitter at the DM Esports. DM meaning Dungeon Master because I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for like 20 years almost,
Good man.
18. Yeah, right. Other than that, I do have a podcast that I do with my very good friend Paul. You can find that at awkwardconversation.podbean.com or just find that on Twitter at awkwardconvo123. So there we just kind of have a lot of awkward conversations about video game opinions, kind of like these now. So I'm hoping that's at least somewhat interesting for you, but definitely shoot me a follow on Twitter. I'd be more than happy to have a stupid debate with you.
Awesome. I mean, I think that's a great. Yeah, definitely hit up Sky if you're interested. Also, just like in marketing stuff, just because like you got good ideas.
That's right. And if you're listening and you're a part of a brand and you need some sort of help with social PR, influencers, content, throwing a kick ass, hit me up.
Sounds good. So as far as we go, thank you all for joining us this week. The Constant Calibrating podcast is live every Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on mixer.com/ConCalPod. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/ConstantCalibrating, Twitter at ConCalPod. I'm at Bear Punch. Justin, who's not here, is at Justin_Glorious. Check Instagram.com/ConstantCalibrating, and come chat with us on Discord at ConstantCalibrating.com/Discord. And, please make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and, just subscribe to the podcast wherever you might be interested in listening to it, and even the places you're not. Even for a show that's been going on for almost 8 years, those subscribers and those reviews really do sincerely help get more people listening and get more attention and keep us doing these cool things like traveling to events and all that fun stuff. And with that, we bid you all a good sign-off.